Welcome back. We appreciate your overwhelming responses and your engagements on our social media platforms. Tonight we are discussing the safety and security measures at our entry points and also at our exit points as a country. We are with Mr. Peter Kariuki, who is a security and a policy analyst on the show. And we are looking at some of the loopholes that are facing our country when it comes to matters security and how our borders are being manned. Mr. Kariuki, before we went for a break, we were looking at some of the things, the activities that have been happening, especially at the NEP, the northern part of Kenya. Over the weekend, we had this case of the 8 members of parliament who are being grilled after having made a suspicious visit to Somali. There are those who've come up to defend their journey. Look at the case of the former Mandera senator, that is Bill Okero, who said that for them to move to Somalia, it was justified. And they went further by saying that what we're experiencing as a country is a result of the scramble and partition of Africa. So you found out that there are Maasai in Kenya, Maasai in Tanzania, Tesos in Kenya, Tesos in Uganda. So Mali is a good chunk of them in Kenya, a good chunk outside there. How can this matter be addressed of the citizens being found in 2 different countries?
I think that one, it doesn't have any problem with how our country is going on, because, you know, like when you talk about the Somalis in Kenya and Somalis in Somali, the only difference there is, the only difference between them is about clan. Because, for example, when you talk about Northeastern, they only deal with clans, because in Somali maybe they have 4 clans, and that's how they work. Because even leadership in Somali, they can decide this year a leader come from this clan. It's not correct for Bill Okero to come out and say such a thing, because the only thing that he can say is just they want to bring unity in those in that tribe. For example, unity between clans. You cannot tell me when they went to Somali, they met the Somali people from the other side, because that's the work of Wazee around that place. But these 11 MPs, they went to Mogadishu and they met the president alone. Because even when they were coming in the airport, they said, we met only the president apart from anybody. For example, they defended their visit to Somalia because it is true president had called them and he said that he wanted a solution in Northeastern.
Don't you think if the president of Somalia called them, this was some sort of a diplomatic protocol breach? Because a head of state has to pass through another head of state, and probably the president of Kenya was supposed to set up a task force, which, if it could include MPs, well and good. Don't you think there's something which was brewed there?
I'm not saying the president of Somalia called them. The president of Kenya, Uhuru Kenyatta, had called them and talked to them in State House about the security issues in Northeastern. But from there, they went and sat down as members of parliament from those 3 counties. And that's why they decided to go to Somalia. Because when they were back, there was this person from Ministry of Foreign Affairs. He said they broke the protocol of going to Somalia without even the knowledge of the government, because that one will break the diplomacy between Kenya and Somalia. Yeah.
Because what came out here, if they met the intelligence of the higher senior authorities from Somalia, and you saw today in the dailies the information that came from Kenya, they were actually blaming the Somaliland government that in one or another they are trying to be ungrateful for the efforts that Kenya has been to them and how they have been assisting them.
But you know, in Somalia we have 2 forces, and that one we must understand, because we have the Jubaland Force and the Somali National Army. Therefore, our government of Kenya is in cooperation with the Jubaland. Because even you see this minister, the former Minister of Security, Mr. Kenyan, who is being said that he has been hosted in Mandera, our government is not taking any initiative to bring that guy out of Mandera, because it is being said that he ran away from jail in Mogadishu, and that's why he was being held. But because our government have all the information, because one resident of Mandera was saying they knew about that incident of yesterday in Bulahawa, but the government was ignoring. Therefore, our own government is creating trouble for those Kenyans who are in Mandera. Yeah.
Now, it takes us back to this matter, and you have to come clear. You mentioned Ethiopia, how they've been able to guard their border. There are those who argues that why Kenya has had a rough time to guard some of these borders is because they have people from this side and people from the other side with very close ties. Is it justified?
No, it's not justified, because you cannot tell me that it's only, there are only Somali in Kenya and Somalis in Somalia. We have other communities like Oromo in Ethiopia and Oromo in Kenya. You know, like in our border there in Moyale, we share our boundaries with the Ethiopians. But the only thing the Ethiopians did, they went and protected their boundaries well. But our only problem as Kenyans is corruption, because we have so many people who are big in the government. They are doing business in Somalia. They are doing illegal business of charcoal, sugar, importing these vehicles from Somalia without paying taxes. Even those forces who are there in Somalia, some of them, they are in depression. Just because they are under command, they cannot talk. But what is going on in Somalia is just for the benefit of these big people in the government. And that's why we are facing all this trouble. It is, our government is able to control everything in our borders in northern eastern.
Now, the recent developments in the northern eastern part, when you look at the history, that place has been a no-go zone. You remember the Wagala massacre, those shifter bandits, and everything that has been happening on that part of the northeastern part. You've mentioned about clanism, which actually has been a topic even today, yesterday, and after these developments have been happening there. Is there any other issue, apart from clanism, that underlying matters that these people from the NEP feels the state is not addressing?
Yeah, it's there, because you know the big problem with our country, Kenya, is land issue. I think even there is that problem of land, and that's why we always see these people coming up. For example, the other time in Marsabit, we were just seeing people saying that this clan must move from our land and this one must move from our land, because when they are grazing, you know, to some extent, when there is drought, they just move from one place to another because they are pastoralists. But when they graze in this place of land, a certain clan, they will claim that this is our land. And that's how you see some clashes between those clans in our northern eastern province. Yeah.
Now, generally, as to how Kenyans have been able to conduct themselves, especially during this corona scare, you see, imekuwa ni kitu ambacho wameona ya kwamba hii inakushika, wewe na njia, you've gone. And they've been very vigilant. They've been very united as never before. As a security personnel, as a security analyst, has this thing been happening when we have terror alerts?
No, because you know corona will not, it is not all about intelligence. It's a disease. And we know, we Kenyans, when something which is very strong that we can see, that we can just see it that as if it's very strange, that can just destroy all of us without favoring who is who, will just be united. But when we talk about terrorism, you'll see those people who are Muslim, they'll say that they are being targeted.
Now, having looked into this matter of our borders, the loopholes, and what can be done to ensure that our borders are secured, we have another matter at hand, and this seems to be internal. Whether those that usually do it, whether they are from inside or outside, it's a matter of another day. What do you tell Kenyans as far as this terror alert that the United States have given them is concerned? How do they handle themselves on the streets, in public transport system, and what have you? Because very crucial at this time and even in the future.
Yeah, Kenyans, we should be very careful, and we must know that security starts with you as an individual. Therefore, when you see something that you suspect, make sure you just report to the police officers or the nearest police station so that we can take measures in taking care of this great nation. And I think it's our responsibility as citizens of Kenya to safeguard this country and to be patriotic and to love it, because when you see such an incidents, don't fear to report, because they will not harm you, because those people who are strangers in our villages, in our towns, in our cities, even in our matatus, we must report them, because we need to stay in peace, we need one another, we need to boost the economy of this nation, and we need to see our government promoting peace in its own country.
At some point when we had a lot of terror attacks in Kenya, there are those strict measures that were put, especially in hotels. You're told before you admit anyone into those guest rooms, they have to provide their details, if they're even from internal or even outside. Are those guidelines still being adhered by the caterers and accommodation providers?
I think not 100%, but it depends with the location or the locality of the place where you are going. Let's say, for example, a hotel, because you cannot tell me you'll go to Intercontinental without such a very good checkup there, thorough checkup, without even your national IDs. But you know, we have some hotels whereby the workers, they are very ignorant, and because they don't want to follow the right procedure due to their own personal issues. Because you know, somebody, when you are given something, let's say somebody will just appreciate you, I have something, this and this, I've just left my documents, just allow me to go in. And that's why you see corruption in Kenya is a big animal that it is eating us in all sectors. Yeah.
On public transport, still on matters safety, and it's been some headache to some of the people, and sometimes when you even meet some of the people who want to board these matatus, they're very scared. You know, someone is asking themselves, we are just going in, we are just boarding, no any security checkups have been done, no anything, nothing at all. Are there any plans to ensure that even those ones that are using these modes of transport are safe? Because sometimes the terrorists might talk of coming to a hotel, then you focus there, you know, like a game of football. Striker anaonyesha goalkeeper anataka kwenda nje, then anasukuma huko kando, then they score.
I think the government has tried to some extent last time, because for example, when you go to GPO there, you'll just see the screening of those people who are going inside. But all this, I've just said that it is our responsibility as citizens, because you cannot tell me when you are coming from Nyayo Stadium and to this place, you must be screened, because it depends again with the population of that area. Yeah. Lastly,
what can really guarantee us safety as a country within and without?
The measures that our government has just put in place can guarantee us, because we can just, nowadays our intelligence is very high, because the level of intelligence currently in our country is very high, and even we have resources nowadays. We are able to control to secure our country, because the incident of Dusit attack, the response from our government, it was very good, it was very swift, and that's why we were able to control that terror attack in Dusit. I think our government has done well in terms of providing security resources to the security personnel and even the training. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Peter Kariuki, for your wonderful insight and the analysis on this wonderful topic of the safety and security of Kenyan citizens, both in the entry and at the exit. We appreciate for your audience, your participation, your comments and feedback that you've given us on our social media platforms. Remember, your security begins with you, but that is an open statement. That's why we had to bring a policy and a security analyst to highlight some of the loopholes, some of the things, some of the measures that have to be taken in order to ensure that you're secure in your house, on the road, on entertainment joints, and also in your places of work. Till next time, for me, Cornelius Omuse, I wish you a good night.